Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. First things first, I want to get out of the way is a shout out to, I believe his name is John Augsburger. It had been a viewer of mine that had reached out and asked what question he would like asked at the investor conference because he was going to be going there. And I told him a good question to ask was about the integration with the OEMs when the time comes. And indeed that question was asked, and if John, if you made that happen, thank you very much. It was a fantastic answer that we received, and it's the type of answer that we would expect logically, but not necessarily the one you would get. But the answer was honest, forthright, straightforward, and straight from the horse's mouth, and made total sense. The question was about the OEM assembly line integration, and the answer was, basically, when the time comes, when the Hyliion Hypertruck ERX powertrain drivetrain system proves itself and there's big enough demand for it from the customers, then is when the OEMs will be on board on a larger scale as far as retooling assembly lines goes. And that's the exact answer you would expect, and it makes 100% sense. So thank you, John, if you brought that question to the forefront. And Chuck Smith had talked about this in his previous video from CBM Outdoors, and I 100% concur with Chuck's analysis on that. Now, moving on to the topic I want to kind of touch on, the basics of large fleet procurement for equipment. Basically, guys, this is a huge advantage in the Hyliion corner as well, and it plays into the OEM integration with the assembly lines when the time comes. So basically, in a nutshell, your large fleets like your Werners, your Schneiders, for instance, who have 10,000 tractors on the road at any given time, when they order equipment, tractors, guys, they order large numbers at the same time, 500, 700 tractors, okay? And they're going to take delivery of those over the course of a year, for instance. And predominantly, for the most part, they spec their tractors out the same. So they're going to order 500 Peterbilts, for instance. 500 Peterbilts with, say, a 375 or a 575 Caterpillar engine, 4 to 10 to 1 gear ratio on the rear ends, and an 18-speed Eaton Fuller transmission. That's just an example. Okay, so they're going to order 500 tractors all spec'd out like that, the same, because that spec sheet has proven itself to be reliable, practical, affordable, all the good boxes that get checked. So they got their Peterbilt 579 for the cab, the creature comforts, the chassis. Then they got the drivetrain. So all these components go together. So they spec those 500 trucks, take delivery of them, 10 at a time, 15 next week, 25 next month, over the period of time. But they're all spec'd similarly because it's a proven platform. So, which leads us into the phase that Hyliion is starting to, the road they're moving down here now. They're getting 2 or 3 trucks out into the fleet's hands. This is the proving ground for that platform, the ERX powertrain, to go in to the Peterbilt 579. So, your Werner, for example, takes 3 of these for the next 3 months. Okay? It proves itself, which it's going to do, guys. The product is good to go. It does the job, and we know this. It wouldn't be going out on the road with the Peterbilt badge. I talked about this before, too. So, that Hyliion ERX powertrain proves itself over the next course of a few months with Werner, with whatever other fleets it's going to, the Wagmans, the Detmars, the Schneiders, for instance. Okay? So then these fleets all are interested at the same time-ish. Werner wants 500 Peterbilt 579s, not with the 410 to 1 gear ratio, with the Eaton Fuller transmission, with the 575 Caterpillar engine. No, they don't need that anymore. That's gone by the wayside because the ERX powertrain will be the new kid in town. Okay? You see where I'm going, guys? So then what happens Okay, you got your Werner wants those 579 Peterbilts, 500 of them, with the Hyliion Hypertruck ERX powertrain. Okay, so they ordered 500. Your Wagmans orders 300. Your other company orders 400. Your other company wants 200. So then the time comes, guys, that your Peterbilts, your Kenworths, your Internationals, your Freightliners, your Mack, your Volvos, they see demand for this powertrain to go into their trucks. People still want the Volvo or the Freightliner or the Peterbilt, but they don't want that configuration with the powertrain anymore. They want the Hypertruck ERX platform for their powertrain because it checks all the boxes that are going to be needed to be checked 2024, 2025. The environmental mandates, the environmental suits the environmentalists. It's environmentally conscious for the fleet owners and the customers, and it gets the job done. It's practical. It runs up and down the highway. Dependable, all those good things, guys. So that's how this will progress, and that's about it in a nutshell, how large fleets procure their equipment. They buy them in large volumes, typically spec'd the same. So this plays into the Hyliion solution. It's another big advantage for the Hyliion solution as opposed to your Nicolas, as Chuck pronounces it, and I love that pronunciation, and I'm going to use it. Your Nicolas, your Teslas, etc. Okay, your customers still want the Peterbilt, they still want the Kenworth, they still want the Volvo, they still want the Mack, they still want the Freightliner, they still want the Western Star. They're still getting it. That's the cab, that's the tractor, that's the creature comforts with the ERX powertrain. Okay, guys, that's all I got. Stay in the saddle, and all my U.S. viewers, happy Independence Day, 4th of July weekend. And Canadian viewers, happy Dominion Day, Canada Day, July 1st, U.S. July 4th. Have a great day, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and stay in the saddle. Don't sweat the small stuff.